Hello, my name is Tatyana Webb, and this is Off the Record, brought to you by Nana Music Productions. Today, we're in the studio with Robert Shimp. He is the owner and the chief engineer of Technical Earth Recorders, and we are just so happy to have you on the show. How are you tonight?
Doing wonderful. How are you?
Doing well. Robert and we met, it was what, maybe 2019, 2020? Well, it was 2019.
Before the bad
Yeah,
times.
before the bad times when we were, I was a part of the Alabama Jazz and Blues Federation, and he and we and all of us were working on some projects together, and we got introduced to each other through some mutual friends, and now we kind of work together with different artists that we work with, but also anytime that we have a project or have an artist who wants to work in the studio, this is who we go to. Technical Earth Recorders is pretty cool because it's actually connected to a very historic site on the property. Can you talk a little bit about the
Sure.
sanctuary?
Yeah.
And
The sanctuary is a nonprofit organization that operates out of the Jubilee Community Center. The Jubilee Community Center is a collection, a national charter. They're a national charter, and they give back to the community through art and wellness. And so we operate the sanctuary as an event space out of the Jubilee Community Center, and the Jubilee Community Center is the landlord of the recording studio. So I lease this space from the Jubilee Community Center.
So it's a pretty cool symbiotic relationship that y'all guys have.
Yeah.
And so can you tell us a little bit about Technical Earth Recorders and what do you do and provide for your artists and producers and clients?
So we built the studio from a cinder block shell, and we kind of built it. The design is like is a riff off of a Bill Putnam room in San Francisco. It was one of the studios that I cut my teeth in, and so we kind of brought a lot of those design elements into this room. And what we wanted to do was make it a community-friendly space where you could come in and kind of be able to create without having to worry about a clock ticking.
Yeah.
And since we've partnered with the JCC, we can kind of keep our rates at a friendly place. So with that, you get a bunch of really nice gear.
Yeah.
And a bunch of people who care greatly about craft working on your records. We try really hard to bring local engineers into the space and give them a space to create that isn't their bedroom. Right? There's nothing wrong with creating music in your bedroom.
Of course.
But this is a different beast, and it allows you a different set of creative tools, being that you're working in a purpose-built room, right? You don't have to compensate for the room. The room is an instrument.
Yeah, it's kind of like and you talking about being outside of the bedroom. It's like when you physically go to work, and you're like, this is the workspace that they can come, but know that it's it's a relaxed space. There's like, hey, we're going to work. We're going to get these creative projects done. But like how you said, there's none of that ticking clock behind you. And that's one thing that I find very unique about Technical Earth. And I mean, even before we started this, I walked in and was like, I feel like home. Like it feels like I'm back home. And it's just, it's a really inviting and warm space to be in. So if you are an artist or producer and you're trying to find a location for that, please come to Technical Earth, reach out to them so that way you can schedule some time and get on their schedule. Because I'm telling you, anytime that I've done a project here, it's been gold, and it's just been a wonderful time. And Rob and his team are, or Robert is they're always very professional, and it's a really cool space to be in. So. But today we are going to talk about studio etiquette and the importance of, being, just professional in the studio. And, this is your home. This is you're trying to create that warm space. So can you talk about what you would consider proper studio etiquette?
Sure. So I'll try to kind of hit this in bullet points.
Okay.
I don't know how this is going to translate podcast wise, but we'll see how it goes. So I when we onboard new interns, when we have sessions that are open, I have a compiled list of studio etiquette, and the interns that we onboard, I make them read it. I don't give them a quiz, but like I'm just like, hey, read this. This will help you not make horrible mistakes if you've never worked in a recording studio.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is what most people would consider common sense, but if you don't know, then you don't know. And it's real easy to get stuck into a situation where you become the problem in the room real fast. And so it's just an easy way to guide them through that, hopefully with a little bit of humor. But I've picked these things up from working in mini studios over time.
Yeah.
And every single house is a little bit different, right? The house rules are a little bit different everywhere you go.
Of course.
But there are some that are just kind of tried and true, like, turn off your phone, right? Like that's a pretty easy one. You don't have to turn it off, but put it on silent. And if your phone's going to vibrate, make sure that it's not vibrating in a place that's not welcome to be vibrating in, right? So, don't put your cell phone on the recording console. There's it's just like a simple list of tricks that you can go through, and I'll try to not gloss over some of the bigger ones, but the easiest one is, were you invited? That's a big one.
Yeah.
If you're not invited, kind of a key to maybe not hang out very long.
Yeah.
And then, let's see, we did the cell phone one. If you're not invited, get invited. That's pretty easy.
I mean, I know whenever you've had a session or anything, I'm like, hey, is it okay if I come through the studio? And most times or not, you're like, of course, but sometimes there's some sessions that,
well, and that's
not everybody wants people in the room.
We have kind of a weird one where every commercial studio, and when I say commercial studio, I just mean a studio that's not in someone's home, right? Every commercial studio that I've ever worked in has a lobby. We don't have one of those.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of like the first line of defense for a recording studio is the front desk. Since we don't really have a front desk, we have a lounge, right? But it's like you walk in off the street and you're in the lounge, right? But we try to operate, since we are a community-friendly space, we operate with an open door policy. And what that means is if the front door of the studio is accessible, right? So if you can open the door, you can come in. And with that, like, you're going to be welcomed into the space. Now, if that front door is closed, right? Yeah. Don't knock. Right. Now, these are things that we talk to people in the neighborhood about, right? If the artist working here has guests, sometimes they're going to close that door because they don't want company. Now, if they've invited someone and they come and they knock on the door, then that's not a problem. It's their record, right? But say you do get invited to the session, right? And you come in and, it's your friend's band and they've known you for 5 years, and you have a good relationship with them. That's great. What you don't have is a good relationship with the work that it takes to make records.
Yeah.
So you might come in and you might hear the band working on a part, right, that is new to you. And you might think that it's the best thing in the world. That's not something that you should communicate in the recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
You are not the producer on the session,
Yeah.
like as a guest, right? You're not the producer. You're not the engineer. You might be a producer. You might be a engineer.
Mm-hmm.
You are not the engineer on that session. You are not the producer on that session.
Yeah.
Therefore, you do not have an opinion.
Yep. Articles are very important in this one.
Yeah.
But it's you have not been welcomed into the project. You may witness said project, but that was something that we talked a little bit about with Joe when he was talking about the culture of the studio and how not your opinion matters as a sound engineer if you're working the session, but not all the time. You're not always entitled to your opinion in the room.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Well,
you just should not express it.
Yeah. It's like, hey, maybe not right now. Especially when work is being done. So yeah, I completely understand that and agree with what you're saying because
well, and roles are very important, right? And your role as a guest in the studio is a cheerleader,
mm-hmm.
right? Like, not to say that when the band comes out to come into the control room to listen to a take, you shouldn't say things like, that was the greatest take ever.
Yeah.
Because it may not have been.
Yeah.
Right. And there's nothing that I can think of worse than fighting for a take. And then the first voice you hear when you come through the door is, wow, that was really great. And then the producer goes, you should do that again.
Yeah.
Right? Because you just heard someone tell you it was great. Now you've heard the other part of that. It's like, no, maybe that wasn't so great.
Yeah.
And so the very first voice that you should hear over the talkback isn't the guest. It's the voice of the producer or the engineer.
So maybe if you're welcomed onto in a recording session and you are in the role of the guest, you are not saying necessarily be silent, but you are the silent supporter in that. So that could be, let whoever is working the session work together, but on the back end it's like, hey, do you need some water? Or like, hey, we'll talk about this afterwards. Do you need anything from me?
Sure.
If not, you are witness and you enjoy your time in the studio, but let the people who are on the record work and give that space to them because they've let you in your space and they've let you in their space. So
it's a real treat that you as an outsider have been invited into a very intimate environment.
It's a privilege.
Right? Bring snacks.
Yeah.
Right.
Appropriate snacks, because, and I will say for vocalists, you can't have all the snacks, but you can have appropriate snacks.
Sure. Yeah. If it's vocal day, maybe have a conversation before that happens. But generally speaking, snacks are always welcome.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if the human beings involved, right? Like bringing their favorite snacks is a wonderful way to go.
Yeah.
Right. Depending on the crew of people, you can bring beer,
mm-hmm.
right? Maybe a bottle of wine. Whiskey booze in general is tricky, right? Once you start getting into liquor, that can go south real fast. It's not necessarily a party, but it's also not a party, right? Like you want to keep the mood light. If you know the people involved, right? Like bring beer, bring snacks. And that will always kind of ingratiate you. Like food is always welcome,
Yeah.
right? Feeding people is important.
Yeah, because I mean, you're and kind of thinking about this, I mean, y'all are some sessions go hours and hours, and y'all are just in, the trenches just working that. So for a guest to bring rations during that session is like, hey, by the way, this is so you can keep doing what you need to do and keep creating magic.
We as a studio try to, I always have snacks
You do.
lying around. There's always
Oh.
water, right? We have tea and coffee and all of those things. But yeah, like our snacks are really limited to like pretzels, trail mix, right?
Mhm.
Like things that are going to kind of sustain you, but it's probably not your favorite.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like those are easy ones. Uh, we'll tackle some hard ones. Um, Significant others in the studio.
Yeah.
That can be weird. And it's not that it's not welcome. It If it is a healthy and supportive relationship, that's great. They have to be able to get along with everybody in the room.
Hmm.
And if that is a problem, then that needs to be addressed. And these are things that you can talk to the engineer and the producer, right? So if you have a stressful relationship happening at the moment and you don't want them there, but you don't want to tell them that you don't want them there, these are things that the studio staff can help you with,
Hmm.
right? We can be like, no, sorry, we don't allow guests,
Hmm.
right? Which isn't not true, right? Like we only allow guests that are welcome in the studio,
Hmm.
right? And it's always a case by case, right? Like
Yeah.
it's never set in stone. And that's the like one of the things that's listed in our etiquette document. It's like these are not rules, these are guidelines,
Yeah.
right? It's not always right, it's not always wrong. And it's not just limited to significant others, right? It's like it's family.
Yeah.
So we've had records made in the studio where we have had 3 toddlers in the space
Mm.
and like a 7-year-old, right? And because of the humans involved, we still got work done,
Hmm.
right? So that's cool. I've had kids in the studio where I was like, this is not going to work,
Yeah.
right? Like we are not going to get anything accomplished
Hmm.
with this happening. And most of the time it's like most of the time I can call those sessions where it's like, hey, look, not today. All right. Like we're not the clock never started today.
Hmm.
Right? Like this never happened. Right. We learned a lesson today. Right. This is not a thing.
Yeah.
But there are other times where I literally can have, somebody's kid sitting right next to me at the console and they're in there doing takes
Mhm.
and I will, show the kid the talk back button, be like, after the take is over, you can express what you need to express,
Yeah.
right? And it usually works out well because it keeps most of the time it keeps people grounded,
Hmm.
right? Like having a kid in the studio is is a really great way most of the time to to keep everyone at a very even level,
Yeah.
right?
Kids do that, depending on the child, of
Yes,
course.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it kind of it's setting that tone of like expectation of we're doing work here and but the other thing is you were talking about like people being allowed in the room and stuff. And this kind of work, especially for an artist or for a musician or depending on the type of song or piece or creation that's being made, it could be vulnerable. And there could be emotional expressions that are being processed in the moment. And if the right, wrong audience is on the other side of that glass is like, maybe I didn't want to share this with you yet, or
Yeah.
the process of me getting through this song or through this piece, I didn't want to share that with that person at that moment, or it just depends on the situation and people. So I do like how you say it's a case by case when it comes down to you know who's allowed in the room.
Yeah, I've been recording music for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen all all of it, right?
Yeah.
Where people have needed that person in the room with them in order to conjure up the emotion, right, that they need to perform.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them shut down because, right, like that isn't who's needed in the room at the time. So there's, like I said, there's no finite rule
Yeah.
in that. It's just whatever is proper for the session, that's the rule.
Because you're working with people, and people, there's different people groups, there's different emotions with each person. So yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Um, and then, like getting back to the technical aspect of it, right? Like if you like the nerdy side of recording technology, um, don't ask the engineer questions while the engineer is working, right? And the way you know if the engineer is working is if they're in the room. If they're in the room, they're working. That's the default, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't, just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's time for you to ask questions. Please talk to the engineer when you come in, introduce yourself, explain, maybe like, hey, am really interested in all of this stuff, right? This is so cool to me. Um, just let me know when is a good time, right? Like when I can ask about something. And I deal the same way that I deal with interns. When I have a guest in the studio who who loves all the stuff, it's the same way when we have new interns coming in and sitting in on sessions.
Mm-hmm.
If you see me do something and you have a question about it, write it down, right? Like take some notes, right? Like write it down, and then at the end of the day or at the end of your time in the
Session,
studio,
yeah.
right? I will take the time, right? Because I am the nerdiest of nerds, right? Like I love this stuff.
Yeah.
I love going to other people's studios and sitting in and watching them work because it teaches me things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a lifelong learner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my whole thing is like I want I want to know things about record making that I didn't know yesterday. I want to go to work the next day and make better records than I did the day before, right? So it's there. I hope that there aren't a lot of engineers out there that are still like guarding this, right? And I want to teach people things. I want people to know things, but I don't want to teach you things while I'm in the middle of a take,
Yeah.
right? If I'm doing something, like I'm keyed in, I'm trying really hard to block the rest of the world out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing everything in my power to only hear the music, right? Like I don't want to hear anything else, right? And it's not just I'm not just listening to the music when I'm listening, right? Like there's a million things that I'm trying to decipher while playback is happening. I don't need you standing over my shoulder being like, "What's that knob do?"
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of going back to the definition of what you are. You are a sound engineer. You are operating, you know, obviously you're bored and everything, and obviously you're working with the artists and the musicians and making sure you're communicating effectively so that way you get the right sound over, the recording, and you're doing all of these things at the same time. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, what's that button? I'm like, go away. So I understand. It's just like, you're for someone who's like working heavy machinery, which you are, as like you don't need to be having people ask you just itty bitty questions, which they are still important
Yeah.
and they are still relevant. But yeah, when the session is done, when the appropriate, like when you're maybe wrapping cables and you're not in a, a focus centered take after take session.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean,
yeah.
like, as a guest, you're not. Hopefully, you're not around watching us wrap cable at the end of the day, right?
Okay.
But like as an intern, yeah, right. Like that is the time, right? Like we will, and anybody who's ever interned here knows, right? When like that's my favorite part of the day, right? Is when that's where I find my zen at the end of the night, right? It's when we're wrapping cable, or really what we will do is like, we'll hit the local, like we'll go down to the pub and have a beer and then have a chat, right? We just debrief,
Yeah.
right? Like the whole day. And it's not just the technical aspect. A lot of times, especially in our room, either the artist is self-producing or they've looked to me to, most of the time I'm co-producing, right? And that's not a label that I like to wear, right? Like I'm going to help you make the best record possible. Full stop, right? Don't really care what you want to call me in that, right? Doesn't matter. But that's what that is typically landing as, right? So they'll see me like playing psychologist while we're making the record, and then they're like, oh, they had shut down and you pulled that out of them. Yeah, that's the job, right? Like that's what we do. You can't do that when you have people in the room actively undoing, right? Like getting their ego out of the way is like one of the biggest parts of the job. When you've got someone in the room feeding their ego, right? It's not helpful.
Yeah.
And so whether you're doing that in a loud way or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need, like I said, you can be a cheerleader without it seeming like you're calling the ticks.
Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, this is so hard.
Well, maybe I can direct this. So you've talked about the sound engineers and your interns and, kind of a little bit of etiquette on that. You talked about the role of being the guest in the room and so how they contribute to the etiquette of the room. But what about from the artist and the musician side of it? And what kind of etiquette should they have when entering the studio? And what are expectations that you have that, that would be
Yeah. So
appropriate?
you want to have fun,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, that's why we're making music, right?
and that's the thing. It's like and this is the weirdest walk for me as a business owner.
Yeah.
Right. It's easy for me as an engineer. It's easy for me as a person documenting music. I can do this all day long and not even think about it. But when you come into a commercial studio, even though we don't have clocks on the wall, time is money.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you come in here with no plan, if you come in here under rehearsed, if you come in here over rehearsed, it's going to create problems. Come into the studio with a plan. It doesn't have to you don't have to be so rehearsed that it's robotic.
Yeah.
Because undoing that is sometimes harder, right? Like if there's no emotion in the track, there's no point,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm not gonna do that because it's gonna make a lot of people real mad at me. I was gonna name a band that does that, and I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
not do that.
let's not do that. There are people who know me who will know exactly what I was about to say,
Mm.
and that'll be fine. If they see this, they'll know.
Dang.
So, but like you don't want to get to the point where it's over rehearsed, but knowing what songs you want to record,
Yeah.
knowing loosely like what key, what tempo, right? Just the structure of the song in general, right? That's paramount, right? There was a time where we were making records for, like indie labels, and we would make a record in a day.
Mm.
So we would do 13 songs.
Mm.
So we would record rhythm tracks, overdubs, vocals, mix the record in a day.
Wow.
One day, right? Now, 16 hours,
Yeah.
but one day.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying that's fun.
That is
I'm just saying right now.
Yeah.
And these are not like, these are power pop records, right? We're not like doing crazy overdubs. There's no string sections, right? There's not even keyboards, right? It's like it's a power trio, right? Like, and a vocal, right? Like it's just go. So, but it can be done, but that's because they were super rehearsed, knew exactly what they wanted to do, and we came in and executed. We did a lot of pre-production. Before we cut those records, we knew exactly what the record was going to sound like when we were done.
Yeah.
So if you can come in rehearsed, do that. And then if you set a date and you can't meet your expectations by that date, call and reschedule.
Yeah. There's no shame in that.
No, give me 72 hours, right? Like that's me personally. That's all I ask, right?
Yeah.
If you figured it out and you're 3 days, and even if you're just like ridiculously like, if you aren't sleeping, right? Because you've got a session coming up, that's not good, man.
It's not going to give you peace walking to that studio, and that's already going to set an energy that's just.
Now, I've had a lot of first timers, like when they've never recorded a record before, they come in, they're very freaked out. I'm really good at talking people through those situations.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in getting into the studio and being like, I cannot do this. Right? Like, because this is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
All right. But so you're a band, right? You want to cut a record. You need to be rehearsed. If you're not rehearsed, it's not gonna work.
You're gonna waste time in the studio.
And again, if you have lots of dollars, that's fine. Right? But most people don't have lots of dollars. So come in, be rehearsed, and there's a certain amount of professionalism, right, that's involved. Show up on time. Right? I prefer it when you show up on time. Don't show up early. Right? I'm doing things for you, right? Getting ready for you. Right? Like I
have to tell my vocal students the same thing. They'll show up like 20, 30 minutes before our time. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because that's at my house. So I'm like,
beyond that, this is in a commercial space. I'm telling you straight up, please don't show up early. Right? Like if you show up early, you're gonna have to sit. You're gonna have to sit somewhere that's not the most comfortable place.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm going to try to make it feel like you're not in my way.
Yeah.
But you're going to be in my way.
It's like, hey, why don't you just go down to the little pub, get you a tea,
right?
Take a moment, and then just come back at your time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm slowly losing the microphone, like very,
It's okay.
very slowly.
But it's good. But yeah. So don't show up early.
Show up on time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and more importantly, I would rather you show up early than late.
Yeah.
But again, right, just show up on time, right? You have a scheduled time. Let's just do the stuff within that time.
Yeah.
Let's try to get as much work done as we can in that amount of time. If you need a break, take a break.
Yeah.
Don't feel bad about like having to be like, I need 10 minutes. But if you need 10 minutes after every take,
yeah.
right? Like
I think that's one thing that I tell my artists when I'm talking about when I tell them to be prepared for the studio, I tell them to have a chord chart, have some kind of structure. Now, don't be so rigid on that structure because, sometimes it ebbs and flows. Sometimes you want to take a chunk here and move it around, but being able to already have each of those sections rehearsed down so you know how it's supposed to flow, then cool. Always, when you're recording or even on in live sessions, the moment can sometimes take it to a different direction, and that's fine. But like how you said, having that plan, it's smart to have a plan, but to be flexible a little bit so that way artistic, moments can happen because. Yeah. Like how you're saying, you don't want it to be so robotic and rigid where someone listening to the record can't connect with you.
Yeah.
And that's where and I love how protect that the integrity of the music and the creativity of what's trying to be recorded down. So
well, and that's the cool thing about having a separate space, right? Like having a control room and a live room affords you that ability, right? Where what's happening in here is disconnected from what's happening in there on purpose.
Yeah.
Right? I can't tell you how many times as this is not has nothing to do with etiquette, but I've sat in a room with a band and heard them play a track down. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, that was the take. And then walked into the control room and hit playback and was like, that was absolutely not a take. And it's just because the energy in the space feels good.
Yeah.
It's like why live records are so hard to make is because the energy while it's happening, right? In the moment, everybody in the room will 110% agree that was the best show they've ever seen. Mm-hmm. And then they'll go back and listen to it and be like, that was the worst show we ever played. And it happens so many times.
Yeah.
But to be able to have access to that kind of thing is why studios are kind of important. Mm-hmm. Now, going back to that, if you're a band and you're fighting, right? If you're arguing, right? Sometimes, right, like that fuels the creative process.
Yeah.
Right? And can be a healthy part of the creative process. If you are so angry that you can't be in the room together,
you can't work. Yeah.
Don't come. Mm-hmm. Right? You're just going to waste your time, right? You're going to waste your money. Yeah. You're not going to get something if nobody can agree. I've seen records get made that way, and it just takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and it's not how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
But like you can have debate, you can argue, you can be angry. A lot of times I don't want that in the live room. Mm-hmm. Right? When I see that happening, that's typically when I will be like, all right, look, we're gonna go outside. Mm-hmm. Right? We're
Cool off.
Yeah, we're gonna step outside. We're gonna figure this out,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can come back inside, right? But that space needs to be relatively free of that kind of energy.
Yeah.
Now, again, like discourse, right? Like arguments, that is part of the creative process.
Yeah, it's emotion. And again, saying you want to have emotion in your recordings, you want to have emotion in, the creative process, but when it, like how you said, when it tips over that threshold of, okay, now we're not able to work, which is the purpose of why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to woosah a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't like, I'm a little bit older, so the word toxic is kind of silly to me. But when it gets toxic, that's when it's time for that to stop.
Yeah.
Right? It can't get to that point and still
be productive.
It can, it's just real hard.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it takes so much more time to come back from that, that if you had just like took the 3 minutes before that, it would save you the 30 minutes on the back end of everybody getting back to that place where everybody's doing the thing.
Yeah.
But like that's the other part of that conversation, right? Where when we're talking about it in pre-production, what do these moments look like? Right. So again, have a plan, right? If your band can get that way, work that into your plan. Right? Be like, all right, look, we want to try to cut rhythm tracks, but our guitar player like doesn't jive well. Like once we get to a certain point, he gets really frustrated. So let's just cut that out, right? Let's just be like, all right, cool. We're going to do this many takes with drums, bass, guitar, and keys, right? Once we get to this many takes, we're going to be like, cool. We're going to do drums, bass, keys. We're going to keep this as a scratch guitar part, right? Like, and then guitar player comes in, sits down with me, right? And we have some laughs while the other people suffer.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
right? Like that's the thing. It's like have a plan, right? Because if that's a plan, then nobody feels weird.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody feels bad. Nobody feels like they're being left out. Right? Like it's a thing. So yeah, bands come in, rehearse.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sorry, rehearse.
Come in.
Right? And that's going to be a thing, and it'll make the process way, way better.
Yeah. I was going to with I know we're getting close on time and stuff, but I know with most of our podcasts, we always ask the question, what tip or what piece of advice would you give to an artist, a producer, and we really didn't talk about the producer's role because we talked about the sound engineers and such. And maybe that could be your advice, but what is a piece of advice that you would give to someone listening now that to kind of prepare them to be in the studio, that if they did just this one thing, then it will set up at least a good environment for them in the studio and working with their team?
Oh, before we started this, I said I was going to think about this, and I did.
You've already given a lot of good tips.
Yeah, but I feel like I kind of used some of what I was going to say already, but I'm not going to repeat myself.
Okay.
Kindness. Come into the studio with kindness. Doesn't matter if you're a guest, a producer, an artist, an engineer, right? Like what we are doing in here is ultimately creating something. And I'm not going to say uplifting, because a lot of my favorite stuff is real angry.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but we are trying to create, right? Like you can be angry and kind at the same time,
Yeah.
right? You don't now, you don't have to go about grinning like an idiot. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but if you treat people with kindness and respect, that's going to get you real far.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's something that we could all do a little bit more, right? Like that's really important, especially in these times, right? Some mutual respect, right? Like it doesn't, I'm pathologically anti-authoritarian, right? Like if you tell me not to touch something and don't tell me why, I'm going to touch it, right?
Yeah.
So coming up with all of these like guidelines, right, feels really, really silly until you realize how important it is. And most of the stuff has to do with respect to the space and the people in the space.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with roles and how we move about in the creative process. So it gets a little bit wonky in that aspect of it, but yeah, if you come into a recording studio and and are just kind, right? And aware of your surroundings,
Yeah.
um, it will it will alleviate a lot of people's stress,
I
right?
will say, and this is definitely kind of, you know, tooting your horn and everything like that, or like putting you on a, what is it, the trophies mountain, whatever. But every time that I have seen you out in public, in the studio, you were always the sweetest person. And you were always, now don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong. I understand that, we all have our human elements and stuff.
Sure.
But every time I see you, and it's just the us, you give me a hug. He's like, "Hey, how you been?" And it's always kind, and it's always that's the Robert I see. And so all I'm saying is, I know that at least with our relationship, that's how you work with me and everything. But I know every time we've been in the studio, you've also welcomed anybody that I've brought in. It's always been that kind energy, and you do a stellar job of orchestrating the room.
If you make me cry, I'm gonna be real mad.
I'm sorry, but I'm telling the truth because like you're talking about obviously the sound engineering part, so that's already the operations part, but you're doing the same thing with people. I mean, I swear you're doing like human and sound engineering chess here, like all the different components. And to me, that is just I admire that so much because it's just a human element that people don't always have. It's like you are making stuff happen and you are in control of the room, but you are also being considerate to others and you are considering not just maybe what they're going through in the moment, but also how it affects the project and what needs to be done and what is needed in a moment. And you protect that and you take care of that. And
well, that's what was taught to me.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so that's what was taught to me, and that's what I pass on, right? Like to the people that come through, right? And it's not, I'm not just teaching interns and bringing up another generation of engineers and producers. I'm passing this along to the artists as well, right? Like, and so the fact that you see that makes me real happy, right? And
yeah, I was gonna say because you have interns, and this is why I say this, you are in this case single-handedly, but I know there's others like you too. You are setting a standard and you are creating your own legacy of these new generations with these interns. And that again, that plays a role with what I'm trying to do with the company and with the artists and stuff. It's bringing integrity back into the game. It's making it where it's a creative and fun place to be around instead of it being vultures against each other. And I'm not saying that you don't the industry isn't cutthroat and everything, but I'm just saying that there's some humanism that we can bring back to what we're doing instead of it always being okay, how can I make money off of you and how can I break you down so that way I can get what I need and then run.
Yeah,
It's
I'm trying to remember. There's
which is
like,
very proper etiquette.
well, right, yeah. Well, that's just not human, right? Like, so a long time ago, I got in a debate, not an argument,
Yeah.
with someone at an engineering school,
Hmm.
and they very much came across, and I can't remember exactly how they worded it, but I quoted a song lyric back to them, and like, got claps like from my fellow students. But they were like, well, if you're not trying to make money doing this, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
And my answer was, I don't want my music to be sold like appliances in cars, right? Like, I I I like my music. I like my music to mean something, right? Like, I'm not here solely for commerce, right? Like, yeah, I do need to make a living, but I feel like I can make a living,
Hmm.
right, and still treat people with respect, right, and feel good about my work at the end of the day.
Ooh, talking about being able to sleep at the end of the night. And
Yeah, I don't sleep, but you
well,
know what I mean.
I
Like,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
right. Like, the reasons why I don't sleep aren't because of the work that I do.
Right.
Right?
It's not ethical stuff at that point. It's
Yeah,
just other things.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, with again, there are some that are for the commerce of it, for, trying to make it as commercial and being able to make money with it. And that's fine. If that's your path, okay, cool.
yeah. This is a different topic
Of
for a
course, of
different
course,
podcast, right?
of
Yeah,
course.
yeah,
But I will say and just kind of in a last effort, just saying that I love how you work as a sound engineer, as a studio owner, as a person, and it's just that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on the show, and also just to have an opportunity for people to hear what it's like to be a person like you and how to be like a sound engineer that is in the game, but you're being real about it too.
yeah.
So
If you wanna talk about philosophy, we can do that on a different episode.
so
Right? Yeah.
with that, if people want to get in contact with you and want to set up a session or support, the sanctuary or support any things that you are part of, this is now
Yeah.
you get
All
to
right.
plug
So
yourself.
that's this real. This is where I'm not good at this job at all. But
Yeah.
I the studio does have a Google site. It's just the studio's name. It's Technical Earth Recorders. You can type that into the search bar. I believe we will. That's the first thing that will pop up. Um, we do have social media accounts. They exist. Um, I'm bad at that too. But the information that you can find on all of those things is accurate.
Okay.
So my phone number is up there.
Mhm.
The studio's email address is up there. So it's just Technical Earth Recorders. Um, and I think if you need to get more specific, it's technical.earth.recorders.
Okay.
And that's the studio's email address, technical.earth.recorders@gmail.
Mhm.
And again, if you just type Technical Earth Recorders into Google, we will populate and you can find us from there.
And also for viewers that are seeing the podcast, you will see it at the bottom of the screen. So I'll have all of that detail for them so that it makes it real easy. But
And then the sanctuary is a safe place for art. And I think that's their Instagram
yeah, I
handle.
think that is, yeah.
And then you can just type in the sanctuary in Montgomery, Alabama, and all of that stuff will pop up for you.
Yeah.
And they do really, really wonderful stuff. It's not just it's not just music for them, right? They do like every Thursday. I think every Thursday is like a soul line dancing class. There's yoga every Monday. The first Monday of every month is free yoga. And they do like a business social. So if you're like a small business, they have like a meeting once a week where everybody just kind of gets together and passes around business cards. Um, and then there's the music aspect. So there's lots of shows that happen and it runs the gamut. There's no.
I think there's also like a drum circle thing.
Yep. Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. There's a once a month there's like a Saturday one.
Yeah.
But then there are like djembe lessons. And that happens weekly. There's a theater group that meets. And there's something else.
Point being,
Peggy, I'm sorry.
they have a lot of stuff going on. So if you're interested in any of their programs and different classes that they have, I'll also put their information there here because they are partnered with Technical Earth and they really do some amazing things too. So.
Yeah, Evan Milligan is the executive director.
Awesome. Yeah.
And is one of the best people on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole organization is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you like what you heard today, you can check out more about the podcast at nanamusic_off the record on Instagram. You can also follow the company's page at Nana Music Productions. And if you want to follow me, it's at Webb, Webb.Tatyana, Tatyanam. And just remember, this podcast was off the record.